Hello students, welcome to Crack Grade B online learning platform. Today in this video lecture we are going to do analysis of last 3 years paper of ESI and ARD of NABARD Grade A phase 1 exam, and for phase 2 we will do this analysis in a separate video. So in phase 1 40 marks questions are being asked from the ESI and 40 from the ARD, 40 number of questions from each section. So this we will discuss in detail. From which section they are asking more questions, means it is current affair, government schemes, or technical part or static part. So first we are doing for economics and social issue. In 2018, 2019, 2020, 3 years analysis we are going to discuss. 6 marks were covered from the government scheme in 2018, but in 2019 25 marks from the government schemes. In 2020, 14 marks from the government schemes, and we talk about the current affairs. Specifically, the current affairs which is being covered in this exam is related to the economy, finance, social issue, agriculture, budget, economic survey, various reports related to Indian economy, specifically GDP related reports, various ranking related to the economy and social issue related rankings or reports also the similarly, and 23 marks in 2018, 11 marks in 2019, and 21 marks from the current affair were covered in 2021. So if we talk about current affair and government schemes, so 29 marks, 36 marks, and 35 marks, so average 30 we can consider is being asked from the current affair plus government schemes. Static part is 11 marks, 4 marks, and 5 marks is covered from the static part. So first of all we will discuss the government schemes. The government schemes we have already released the video in past also, and recently for the RBI also. Syllabus is almost similar for ESI in RBI and NABARD. So those schemes, which schemes are important in ESI section specifically, we have made a video and uploaded on YouTube channel also, and NABARD also we have made previously. Which ministry schemes are important, that scheme you can cover, but we have gone through these papers of 3 years. So majority of the schemes are being asked in the NABARD are from rural development and schemes which are in news in last 6 months, and even new schemes which are being released from the state governments, various state government schemes, and agriculture ministry schemes, animal husbandry, ministry of fisheries, animal husbandry and dairying schemes, that are also important part for this ESI, and all other schemes related to the social issue you have to cover. And that for that recently before RBI exam we have uploaded a video, and you can see that in our YouTube channel also. Those ministry schemes are important, and one more ministry of food processing and industries, also an important topic for the NABARD. And this is a very important part of the NABARD Grade A exam, as you can see that 14 in 2020, 25 marks in 2019 were asked from this government scheme part. So, and second part is current affairs with respect to economy, finance, agriculture, social issue, including budget, economic survey, and reports. You will, if you will go through the past papers, and if we talk about RBI and NABARD both, then you will see the trend is similar in both the exams, that questions are being asked from the current affairs related, mostly last 4 to 6 month current affairs are being asked in these exams. In NABARD specifically you can go for 6 month current affair, and no need to go beyond that. Last 4 to 6 months are more than enough. And specifically the current news related to economy, specifically to GDP related, any news is there. Suppose GDP report is released by IMF, World Bank, ADB, OECD and any report by World Economic Forum and UN reports. All these institutes last 4 to 6 months reports are also important, and specifically GDP related report growth that they have predicted for India and the world. Past trend was that they were asking the questions mainly for the India's GDP. What were the reasons for India's GDP and what are the projection for India's GDP? And but recently in RBI Grade B 2021 exam, they have asked for the international means global GDP also. What are the reasons for the projection and increase in the projection of the global GDP? So they have asked. So you have to cover the reasons for both. If there is increase in the global projections, you have to study the reasons. What are the reasons given by any institute which is releasing the report? And also for India, similarly, what are the various factors that are supporting the growth of GDP? So these are very important points you have to cover in these reports. And other index and report related to Niti Aayog current reports, and of last 1 year at least you have to cover the Niti Aayog all reports that is mainly asked in these exams, RBI and NABARD both. And budget and economic survey are very important for these exams. As you can see that in RBI Grade B phase 1 also number of questions were asked from the budget, and similarly in phase 2 in ESI paper they have asked many questions related to budget. And in 2018, you can see the paper, previous year paper, that 9 to 10 marks question were asked from the economic survey directly. So economic survey is also important for the 2021 exam, NABARD exam. And specifically agriculture related chapter you can cover in the economic survey, that more focus you have to give on the economic survey. And various contribution of agriculture GDP, that is also important from the Indian economy part. Always a question is asked from that contribution of agriculture GVA in Indian economy, and sometimes fishery sector, sometimes animal husbandry sector they have asked. So these such figures are very important. Also Indian GDP growth projection by NSO, that is also important by RBI. And RBI circulars, one more important tip is RBI circular. RBI circulars are very important. Whatever circular is RBI releasing means notification they are uploading related to the financial system or various financial institution, and any schemes or any specific regulations they have launched, they have uploaded on their website. That is very important. As you can see, the last 2 years, since last 2 years, number of questions are being asked from the RBI circulars in NABARD exam as well as in RBI exam. You can see the recent exam of RBI Grade B, 8 marks directly were covered from this, were asked from the RBI circular. And previously in NABARD also phase 2 exam also they have asked the questions from the RBI circular. In previous years also they have asked the questions from RBI circulars specifically in ESI paper. And other you can cover in the financial institutions are very important. So financial institutions they used to ask the questions from current news also, and economy related all current news are important. At least 4 months current affairs you have to do in depth, because questions are being asked in depth. You can see the papers that every news which is in there related to the economy, finance, agriculture, social issue, you have to cover in depth, because questions are being asked in depth. For example, this RBI Grade B 2021 OECD report, you can see the question paper, how they have asked the question in depth. Similarly, last year NABARD paper, you can see that is 2.0 index. They have asked the question in depth. So you have to cover the news specifically from PIB. If you are preparing yourself, so you can cover the news, and selective news you have to cover from the PIB, not all, because most of the news are coming. News are means questions are being asked from the PIB and business standard. Mainly the questions you can see this year RBI also main direct news were taken from the business standard or the Mint newspaper, or sometime you can refer also the Economic Times, but I will suggest you PIB, and one newspaper you can follow business standard if you are preparing yourself. Those who are our subscriber, they no need to refer these, because we are covering everything in our current affair portion. Business standard also we are covering, and PIB also we are covering. All reports and indices we are also covering, so no need to study from any other source. Next part is the static and concept based and agriculture census SECC 2011, and livestock census also we can write here. Livestock census. So 11 marks in 2018 from static part, in 2019 4 marks, in 2020 in 5 marks. This is economics and social issues paper, but sometimes they have asked the agriculture schemes and every agriculture census questions also in this ESI, so you have to take care of that. And SEC socio-economic caste census is very important topic. Every time they have asked the question, so every time they are asking one or two questions, so you have to you can read it from the website of socio-economic caste census 2011 is available at official website. That highlight is given, that highlight is important only, no need to go on more details. And static and sometime agriculture related to simple concept are being asked, like cropping pattern and different type of agriculture patterns they have asked in ESI paper also. And if we talk about the static part of ESI, then what are the main important chapters? First one is national income and GDP. National income, GDP related concepts are very important. NSO, read about NSO. And second one, inflation, types of inflation. Types of inflation is very important. They ask many times questions. CPI, WPI, IIP, index of industrial production, index of 8 core industries also important. And these are very important topic for the static part. And next part is poverty, type of poverty, unemployment, type of unemployment. And poverty, mainly you have to cover the various committees. They were given the poverty line, they have given the recommendation for the poverty line to decide the poverty line in India. There are various committee like Tendulkar committee, Rangarajan committee. These committees are very important, and many times they have asked the questions from these committees, so you have to read those committees also. And migration, basic concept of migration, urbanization, and basic Indian polity, you can study the basic concepts, no need to go spend more time on the Indian polity. These are the static part. From there they have asked the questions. And one more thing you can cover, that 5-year plan history you can focus. Sometime question is asked from the 5-year plans, so 5-year plan history you can study. These are the static. These are the static part from where questions are being asked in ESI paper. And agriculture census was asked 1-2 time, so agriculture census is also important. and SEC is very important. Every time they have asked the question, so you have to cover accordingly. So this is for ESI. So you can see that 35, 36 and 29 from the government scheme and current affair. So you have to prepare accordingly. And static part, I have recommended that at least once you have to study all the topics, but then more focus on inflation, CPI, WPI, IP, national income, GDP, concept, inflation, poverty, unemployment, and SEC 2011 agriculture census. These are the main topics from where they have asked the questions in the past. Static part, and is that interest subvention scheme for interest subvention scheme is also very important. Kisan credit card and priority sector lending are also very important topic for this NABARD exam. Many time question also are asked, and you have to study the in detail for the financial institution, and for NABARD also. NABARD annual report you can study, and various schemes by the various function of NABARD you have to study in detail. So there are a number of questions can be asked. And in detail, that if for ESI we have uploaded in previously, I think, in video, and after some time we will upload one more video how to prepare for ESI for NABARD specifically. Next is agriculture and rural development. So in 2018 we first talk about the government schemes. 6 marks government schemes, 13 marks in 2019 and 8 marks in 2020 they have covered. 6 marks from the current affair part, 7 marks for the current affair part in 2019, 4 marks in 2020. 28 marks from the static part, 20 marks from the static part, and 28 from the static part in 2020. So 12 marks only from current affair government schemes, 20 marks and 12 marks. So average we can consider that this year 70% from technical and static agriculture, similarly 70% here, and here only 50%. So approximate 65 we can consider. Average we can consider. So you have to prepare accordingly, that most of the questions are being asked from the static part in agriculture and rural development chapter. And government schemes, mainly Ministry of Rural Development and Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare and Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. So these are the main ministries from where they have asked the questions. And in current affairs they have asked the questions related to the various reports and specific to the agriculture, like budget economic survey and various news in related to the agriculture and rural development specifically they have asked in this portion. So you have to study the specific agriculture current affair you can study. And this agriculture current news related to this Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare available in this ministry website, and similarly for this Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, and export import highlights of agriculture related products, and economic survey you have to cover, budget you have to cover specific to the agriculture sectors, and MSP declaration by government detail, this you have to cover in the current affairs. Estimate production in India, estimate production of food grains and horticulture products, also estimate production of horticulture and food grain also you have to cover. And area under production, that you also cover, and various schemes specifically to agriculture, agriculture and farmer welfare, And Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, you have to cover in the current affair part also. These are very important reports. I had already informed that MSP, estimates of production of food grains, and horticulture's production, area under production. These are the and export import highlights of agriculture, fisheries. These and in static part, majority of the questions you will see from the static part in agriculture and rural development. That is from technical part also and some static part. And in static part, they will use to ask that like various institutes. They will ask that this institute is located at where, so that you have to cover. And various revolutions you have to cover. And agriculture basic concepts you have to cover, like cropping pattern, various type of crops. These are the basic theme. And agriculture terminology, various branches of agriculture you have to cover. And in animal husbandry, mainly questions they used to ask the animal breeds. Animal breeds is repeatedly asked. Disease of animal, and milk properties, they have repeatedly asked. Similarly, fisheries, types of fisheries, they have asked in previous year paper, previous year exams. Horticulture specifically disease of plants, horticulture plants. And various that is covered already in plant nutrients. Plant nutrients related to horticulture, they have asked in the previous exams. And soil is also very important. Soil related questions are being asked every year. 2-3 questions are there. Soil properties, types of soil, and soils, area wise soil properties. And area wise means in north, south, east, west, the property of soil differs. So that is being asked. So you have to cover the soil, whatever this is given in the topic, whatever topics are given in the syllabus, that you have to cover related to soil. And water resources also, that types of irrigation and various irrigation methods, all these things you have to cover. Also the weather related concepts, basic concept you have to cover. Questions are being repeated, and easy questions are asked from these topics. So you can go through the syllabus and cover, easily available on Google. Next, plant nutrients you have to cover, and related to specifically horticulture. If there is deficiency of some nutrient, then what is the characteristics of that plant, and what will happen to that plant. So such type of things they have asked in the previous exams. And cropping pattern is one of the most important topic they have repeatedly asked. Irrigation system, we have already told that under the water resources you have to cover. Sometime farm and agri engineering related simple questions, concept based question they have asked. So basic concept you can study, no need to go in depth, because that agriculture is itself is a vast subject. Like farm and agri engineering, a 4-year subject. Horticulture is a 4-year subject. Animal husbandry is a 4-year subject. Fisheries also 4-year subject. I mean, separate degree is being done in these subjects. So that is vast, and you cannot cover all the topics. So better to focus on means specific content or basic concept. At least you have to cover, and that is being covered in our study material. Also, we are covering specific content, that is you can easily attempt at least 60 to 70% questions of agriculture. No one can do 100% because the agriculture itself is a vast subject. So these are the main important topic from where the questions have been repeated. Like animal husbandry, they have asked the animal breeds, disease related question, milk properties, soil property, types of soil, Horticulture, they have asked about the horticulture crops and various disease in horticulture crops, and soil, plant nutrients, various plant nutrients. What means if suppose potassium deficiency is there in the plant, then what will happen? So such type of question: potassium, nitrogen, phosphorus, irrigation system. Institutes, various institutes are being asked repeatedly. Every year they are asking the question. Farm and agri engineering basic concept you have to cover. Questions are being asked, available in previous year paper, that is available on our website also. Water resources, agriculture basics concept you have to cover. That is so you have already seen that 70% questions is asked from the technical and static part in agriculture. So you have to study the static part and technical part. Means you have to give more focus on this. You cannot ignore in this agriculture and rural development part, rural development subject, the static part you cannot ignore. And one more thing, rural development you have to cover Panchayati Raj institutions. The history of Panchayati Raj institution you have to cover. That questions are being asked and have asked. So you have to cover that in detail. What is the history of this? What was the committee formed, and how, when the Panchayati Raj institutions were formed, and regulation or law under in our constitution when provision was made for this Panchayati Raj institution. So you have to cover that. And for this in detail we will also we will make a video. Okay, how to cover these topics, and from means what are the important topics we have to focus. Already have given a brief idea, and also available a video in of previous year we have uploaded, and detailed video also we have uploaded from where to we have to study that agriculture and rural development. And for phase 2 we will do a separate video for ESI and ARD. And this is our performance in NABARD Grade A exams in 2019. First time we started for NABARD. More than 80% question covered in our study material into ESI and ARD in phase 1, and phase 2 80% question approximately in phase 2 were covered from our study material. In this was for phase 1. Approximately 87% questions were covered in this also, more than 80%, 82 or 81%. In 2019, ESI and ARD approximate 73 marks out of 100 questions. 73 marks out of 100 were covered in your study material. This is for phase 2. So this is for ESI, not ARD. This one is for ARD. 80% questions in ARD, and this one 80% question in ESI. And in phase 2, 73 marks out of 100 were covered in our study material, and this was the highest. And while we are providing the specific content, more specific content is we are providing, we claim that our content is the least in the market. Means we are, whatever we are going to give our student, that is the least content among all the platforms, and highest coverage because we have shared the with proof also after every exam. Recently for the RBI also we have released, and for NABARD exam in previously we have also released. You can see our YouTube videos with proof we have shared immediately after the exam. And most economical also. What are the main reason of the highest coverage? Because that many students used to ask that are you from RBI or NABARD and any other institution? So first of thing, and many students have this myth also that for being a mentor for these exams, it doesn't matter if you are from RBI, NABARD or SEBI. you must be familiar with these exams. So all of our tutor, those who are developing the content, they are familiar with these exams. They have appeared in these exams and have reached up to various stages like interview, and also appeared in the phase 2 exams of RBI, NABARD, and SEBI. So they know the pattern, how the questions are being framed, and what type of questions being are asked. So, and specifically few our teachers have appeared in this exam specifically only for the experience purpose in phase 2, how the questions are being framed. So they know how to address the current affairs, how to address the government schemes, what type of questions from the government scheme they can ask, what type of content. So you can see our schemes also, that how we covered, and every important point is covered that is being asked in the exam. And recent example of that AMRUT scheme in 2021 RBI Grade B phase 2 exam, and previously that PMKVY you can see in the NABARD phase 2 exam of 2021. These schemes, whatever the questions were asked that related to the PMKVY, and only we have covered that. So we know the pattern of the exam, and accordingly we are developing the content. So that is the most useful thing for the students. You don't need to go ahead and there to search like PIB newspapers, various reports. We are providing at a place and at most economical prices whatever the content. And for agriculture, some students ask that video lectures, and for these government schemes, we don't believe that for these specifically for current related part, you don't need any video lectures, because schemes you can easily, you have to remember the things only. In ESI, like budget economic survey, most of the things you have to remember only. And similarly in agriculture part, hardly they will ask the question on the concept. Mainly question will be fact based, data based. So you have to remember the things like which state is the highest producer of the wheat, like that. So in 2020, ESI ARD in phase 1, more than 72% questions. In phase 2, 75% out of 100. That is highest. And recently, NABARD RBI also 75 approximate we have covered from our study material in that the questions which were asked in the exam. So for any query related to these exams, you can ask any questions. You can ask on our email ID given on our website, and you can contact us on the phone numbers given at our website, our social media platform. You can contact. And we have started the video lecture series on our YouTube channel. In that part, we are covering the static part of agriculture, and most of the topics we will cover on that in that video lecture series. And if you want to subscribe our courses, you can subscribe that most economical courses ESI ARD, and it will cover the interview preparation also. ESI ARD mock test will be there. Similarly, NABARD Grade B also this year is NABARD Grade B is also going to release with this NABARD Grade exam. Vacancy will be at least minimum, means less vacancies are there for NABARD Grade B. 10 to 15 vacancies only there. For this 132 140 vacancies will be there. And this ESI ARD FM development economic statistics including mocks we will provide in rupees 3499 only, and it will be 2499 only. You have to register the website crackgradeb.com and subscribe the courses. For any doubt mentorship, you can call us and clarify your doubts. These are our courses. You can share this video to your friends who are preparing for this exam, and also provide feedback about our video lecture series that is continued on our YouTube channel. And thank you and happy